Okay, one thing that is ever so slightly different is that we're doing marketing this afternoon, because we are dragging our heels slightly with some of the marketing theory. And when you look at my grid, you'll notice that we're much further ahead in business environment than we are in marketing. So the last thing we covered in marketing was market research. So just to kind of really quickly recap where we are, Adam, tell us something about market research.
Companies use it to find out more about their target audience.
Companies use it to find out more about their target audience. Jay, give me a type of market research.
Asking people questions.
Asking people questions. Remember we had some terms. So there was quantitative and qualitative. What's the difference?
One is statistics going off like that kind of data, whether the quantitative, the qualitative is that used or more like face to face.
It's when your qualitative is quality. So it's your opinions. Yeah. So what type of questions would you ask Emma for qualitative?
Open-ended questions.
That's it. Open-ended questions. What do you think about? What were the three best things about? So what would a closed question be, Zoe?
Have you tried to do that before?
Yeah. So yes or no. What's your favourite colour? So you've got. What are the other two types of research? Primary and secondary. So Sophie, what's primary research?
Primary is doing it from that research yourself.
Yeah. Whereas secondary is, Daisy? Yeah. So which one's better, Sam?
Well, what's it saying that primary is better because you know it's accurate because you won't let it down, and secondary is quicker and it's cheaper.
Yeah. Okay. So I think we all pretty much remember the different characteristics, different definitions of market research. Do you remember the last question I asked you to answer when you're doing that part of P3 was how it filters into the marketing plan? So what we're going to look at today is exactly what is the marketing plan and what are the major components that make it up. Now I'm not going to go through all these bits now because we're going to pick on some of them in detail. But in terms of objectives, I think you all know what objectives mean. What do you think the word corporate? What is corporate objectives, do you think?
The whole company.
Yeah. So these are your whole company objectives. The best way to think about this, it's like that pyramid. We looked at mission statements, aims and objectives. This is your whole company and it starts to narrow down as you get further along the process. So what we're going to look at today in detail is the marketing audit, SWOT analysis and the marketing objectives. We're going to start to think about marketing strategies, i.e. what is your strategy, what are you going to do to achieve that objective. But the main things we're going to focus on are this marketing audit, the SWOT analysis and the marketing objectives. Can you all just make sure you've got these sheets, just one each of those sheets.
I meant to have the office dress code.
Pardon? What?
I don't think that's how.
No, I don't think that's yours. No, do you want to chuck it? Yeah. Okay, so you know I like my Pictionary. 30 seconds. What is the first topic we're going to talk about? Say what you see. Catchphrase. Car park catchphrase. Fly. Try and think it through in your head. Bear in mind what was on that first slide.
Fly crossways.
Fly across.
Fly across. No, it's not fly across. What's happened to that fly?
It's SWOT.
It's been swatted.
Analysis.
That's better.
I just write that down actually.
SWOT analysis. Come on, you've got to get better at these. SWOT analysis. I know the red word circle, but try and type in and find a picture for analysis. I know it's a bit sad, but it took me ages to find that one. So just bear in mind that was the best I could find. Anyway, okay. SWOT analysis. Have you heard of it before? Some of you might have. If you've done professional development and you've looked at business and or business before, a SWOT analysis can be for a person or it can be for a business. Stands for what's on your sheet: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Okay? So strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. Now, if you're doing this personally, it literally is what are your strengths, what are your weaknesses. So those are internal to you, aren't they? Strengths and weaknesses are things you can change. This is one of the key parts of it. Okay? Strengths and weaknesses are things you can change. So if your weakness is presenting, well then you can do more presentations. You can go on a course. You can ask for advice. You can read a book. All these things. If your strength is researching, well, how do you maximise that strength? Well, if you're in a group, you say, I'll do that task. So they're internal to you, things that can be changed. Right? Whereas your opportunities and threats are external. All you can do, if it's an opportunity, is take advantage of it. And if it's a threat, you can either minimise the effect of it or have some sort of contingency plan just in case. So an opportunity might be you see a job advert. There's nothing you can do about that. You can obviously go for the job, you're taking advantage of the opportunity, but you've got no control over whether that advert's placed or not. All you can do is respond to it. What would the threat be in that scenario? Other people applying for the job. So you never know, further down the line, you guys are going to be each other's threats, quite possibly. You might be each other's competition for a particular post, depending on you stay in the area or what you do. In terms of a business, it's very much the same thing. It's the business's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. On your sheet, because remember this assignment focuses on Highbury College, doesn't it? The research I gave you, Jay, the research I gave you was that online research about Highbury. Before we look at Highbury, what I'd like to do is look at one of the companies we've focused on for these assignments, and that's Apple. So just on the other side of this sheet for now, just on the other side of that sheet, in small groups, so 2s, 3s or 4s, do a real quick SWOT analysis. What do you think are the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats of Apple? So what are their strengths, what are they particularly good at? It's just an example of this one. It's just an example of this one.
Large market share, growing market share, large market share.
Yeah.
Don't you got a pen?
No, has anyone got a spare pen? Whose green pen is this here? Can I make that Jay quickly? Yeah, this is Zoe's Jay. Give that to Zoe. So just think of it as, what are they very, very good at that they have control over? What would you say maybe are Apple's weaknesses? And what opportunities are they can take advantage of? And what threats are there? Can't think of any. Think of what are Apple good at? What are their strengths? Their product range. Yeah, definitely. That's got to be their biggest strength, isn't it? Their biggest strength is their product, surely.
You can't think of anything about it.
Privacy.
About privacy?
None of their weaknesses.
I've got one.
Yeah.
Such as
Yeah. What about how they so you can look at it as a good point or a bad point. The fact you can only use certain applications. You can only use certain software.
They're getting sued left, right and centre about the patents.
limited.
About what?
Yeah, I think but then the patents is that a weakness?
Is that they've had a massive thing with Google? That's what Google Maps and nothing.
So that could be a weakness, couldn't it? Their relationships with other businesses. So what things are there that Apple can take advantage of? What's the biggest thing that keeps changing? So competition there we go. Competition be an opportunity or a threat?
Correct. But like the products they bring out, therefore they're actually got them or something.
The opportunity there, as Moses rightly said, is technology, isn't it? Because it's developments in technology. That's their huge opportunity, isn't it? Definitely.
Do you think they've got
What is
opportunity
it
to fail
for?
as well?
Every business has, definitely.
Because as in a good way though, I think even if they did fail with, if they go out on new projects and it wasn't as good as the others, I still think they would still have a lot of customers.
Why is that? Thinking about what you did, which bit is based on that B word. But then that goes back to here,
Yeah.
doesn't it? Huge. That's a really good point. One of their strengths is their brand, isn't it? Their brand image is huge.
I don't think it's good at school.
Yeah.
Is this actually being brought up or did someone just
They might.
maybe
Um,
like 2 years?
We didn't know last year.
Yeah, I mean, so your threat there is the competition and maybe the demand of the product. It's us, isn't it? We as consumers can be opportunities or threats. It's trends, it's society. The weakness would be the fact that complaints happened in the first place, wouldn't it? The fact that they did something wrong. The threats are maybe changing perceptions of the company. What we as society, what we as consumers think about the company.
They're bigger heads, aren't they? That's what it is, isn't it? That should have a couple of it.
Is that what it is? Looks like an advert.
Global company.
Yeah.
Did anyone else have global company?
I put that
I
to grow
think
market
that's
share.
a big one. So yeah, a big opportunity. Other markets, new markets, going even more global.
There's a lot of cheaper replica style as well, that you would look instead of retail and
Yeah.
tablets instead of.
I see some really cheap versions come up on Groupon, I think, on Wowcher, what it was called. I see some really cheap things come up. You can get like 7-inch kind of tablets for less than £100.
Google one's £99.
Things, what I think is the Kindle Fire. That looks brilliant.
Yeah, that was £89 at the weekend.
Look, the Kindle Fire, isn't that like 150?
Yeah,
isn't
but
it?
Black Friday sale, it's like nice.
See that? See, looking at that's pretty good value. Because they seem really, they can go online, you can use apps.
Oh yeah.
You can, it's kind of, I don't use my iPad for anything more than that. So you can save a huge amount. So we got quite, in terms of strengths, what would you say is their biggest strength? What do you reckon, Berthin? Their biggest strength, Apple. Most 2 seconds. Go on, Berthin.
Their strength.
Yeah, biggest strength.
They have like large customers.
Customer base. Okay. What were you going to say, Moses? Product range.
Trust in the name and image.
Yeah, it's all of those. It's their product range, their customers, their brand, isn't it? It's their overall brand. That's a huge strength for theirs. Weaknesses. They are a good company, aren't they, really? But what are weaknesses?
What's disputes with other companies about press?
Bad press, disputes with other companies. Are there any faults in Apple products?
Yeah, the iPhone screens, there was crap and expensive to replace.
What's the other thing about when you speak into something? There's something with the new iPhone where you talk and it goes into, I can't remember what it was now, where you hold it.
Siri.
It something happened with it, didn't it? I can't remember, it was cereal when you
Oh,
press
the
it.
old one, if you hold it with your left hand, it locked the signal.
That was it, that was it,
Yeah.
that's it, yeah. You think, little things, you think they'd work out, wouldn't you? opportunities and threats. What have we got down here?
Technology, developing.
Yeah, developments in technology, definitely. Anything
I
else?
just, be another one. And they've actually got other companies like Samsung and stuff, like, yeah, like, I mean, that thing, like, it's like Samsung, or Samsung. And like,
Is that what they don't say that, do they?
no, but it's like, that's basically what they're saying, you know.
What?
Like,
Samsung.
that Samsung Galaxy is basically like as good as the iPhone.
Oh.
Wow, there's a lot of competition there, isn't there? It's huge. There's competition between phones.
We've got phones now. That knew nothing before.
Well, it's really interesting really to listen to you, but this class and all classes, it's such a thing to talk about, phones. It's like a huge topic of debate, what phones do what, and the speed, and the camera, and this and that. It's like, it's a phone.
Yeah, but it's not, it's a computer as well now, isn't it?
But that's the thing, how often do you use your phone to phone?
Every day.
Do you?
Very rarely.
Do you even text, or do you just use Facebook Messenger?
I text mine.
Interesting, isn't it? Really, phones are barely phones anymore. Like you rightly say, they are personal computers. Right. Okay. So you've got an idea of what a SWOT analysis is. Okay. You've got an idea of what a SWOT analysis is. What I want to do now as a group, because it's quite interesting actually, because this is a little bit of market research as well for me. For the second assignment, the case study is hybrid, isn't it? Remember. So you've kind of put do two companies to one side for a moment. You're focused on Highbury College. We need to do a SWOT analysis for Highbury College. But I want to do this as a whole, so we will go through it and start to write it down as we go through. So, and I want to be honest, it's interesting, it's really interesting to find out what your views are. Because, you know, if you all say there's this particular weakness, that's something we can change. Because bear in mind, the whole point in this, that you may start to see, is going across. Any threat, maybe we can turn into an opportunity. Any weakness, well, let's work on it and turn it into a strength. And that's what a business is trying to do all the time. So, let's start with the positives rather than negatives. I'm sure the negatives will take some time. Strengths of Highbury College, please.
But they read down onto for business. So I've told a few people when I'm studying and they said, aren't they known for business?
See, I didn't think it was. It's nice to know. So there is maybe.
I think it's known for ICT.
It is known for IT. It's the #1 college in the UK for IT.
I've never heard anyone say anything. Like, so they've got good feedback.
So would you all agree with that, or have you heard who's heard bad things about Highbury?
I get good
Whenever
feedback.
I
Tell
say-
people into Highbury.
Whenever I say hybrid, they're like, oh, caution.
Oh.
The location.
What's wrong with caution?
I think now.
Okay, no, this is interesting.
Let me just
So, because there's straight away. So we've got in terms of the reputation. It's going to work. So one of the big strengths you say possibly is the reputation. Would you say the location is a weakness?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why?
It's near Paulsgrave.
Leah.
Sorry. So I didn't leave that, don't worry.
Again, Leah.
Oh,
What's wrong with Cosham? It's got a motorway there, it's got a train station there, it's got bus stops there.
It's always a point that.
It's not got a good reputation in Caution, has it?
So is that the problem, the reputation of the location?
Yeah. Is it not that?
I've never really-
Cosham is like a ghetto, is it? I thought Cosham was alright. I don't know, I don't live it.
I've never heard nothing bad.
But then the thing is though, this whole thing around areas though, it's not that bad. It's not that bad in Paulsgrove. It's not that bad in Lee Park. It's not that bad in Buckingham or Stampshire or whatever. One. So reputation's a strength. Location, less so. Other strengths, please.
How many services they offer? The nursery.
And the gym and all that.
The range of courses.
Yeah.
When you say the range of courses, do you mean the different subjects or the different levels, or both?
Both.
How many people do actually go into what we study it, do you know?
How many people, sorry?
Do actually go into the field that we study it?
What in terms of moving on?
From here, yeah.
Very high percentage.
Yeah.
Very high percentage. I don't know exactly because this is my 4th year here. and there wasn't really that much business beforehand. So you're only your second year of a level 3 business group. The guys, some of the guys that you've met in Joe's class and everything, they're the first year of level 3 class. Because we've just been growing it for the last 3 years. So in terms of final data for business, we don't have much yet, but in general, it's very good. So we've got a range of courses. Obviously, I can't write much on this, so you're going to have to keep writing these as we're going along. Because mine's scrawl, isn't it, really? And so just keep doing it as we're going through. So reputation, extra services, range of courses, facilities. I think I've probably said when we looked at the P's before, I think one of the biggest things that grabs me is you walk through in that reception, and it is a cool place to be. You walk through, and it's a nice area. The reception's a little bit muddy. The glass, the steps, it's just, you compare that and you walk into other colleges, and they feel a little bit like school, don't they? Personally, I'm not kind of like just slagging off the competition.
Well, it was a school, so it looks absolutely like.
I've been Southdowns. This is very new. I think we have got the opportunity. We have got. When I've been Southdowns for ages though, so it might have changed. Is it nice there? Is it nice there? I haven't been there for a while actually. So. But we only built this. This is only built for 3 years.
What's the like walked in there, like literally the chairs are like little like junior school chairs, and the facilities are just awful. Teaching's awful. Passing rates are awful.
We have gone through all 7 P's, haven't we? Or we just gone over the 4 P's? 4 P's. We'll talk about one of the 7 P's. What's known as physical evidence. Okay. Does it make a difference really to education about the chairs? Honestly.
Yeah.
Okay. The answer is no. Okay, first of all, the answer is no. The chairs don't make a difference. But it affected your possibly, but it affected your choice though. That's the key to what I'm saying. That's the physical evidence. It's not promotion, it's not product, it's not place, it's not price. It's that little bit that makes you think. The layout of the window reception. You just immediately, like when you go into a restaurant, you get immediate preconceptions, don't you? Oh, this is a really nice posh restaurant. This is a really nice restaurant. This is a crap restaurant. But it's the food, surely, that matters. But it's the experience, isn't it? It's the whole experience of it.
Another strength there is the accommodate like the disabled,
What was that?
all the disabled kids and stuff.
So the range of courses, it's not just for traditional subjects. It's independent living and work skills. It's open to all. I thought you were going to say accommodation then.
Oh yeah.
Because bear in mind that you can live here if you want to.
Can you?
£70 a week. It's not cheap though.
Upstairs.
I pay on it.
What is it? £70 a week.
I thought it was 70 last year.
I'm sure it
I'll
was
just-
more than that last year.
I would just say they're quite
I thought it was pricey.
they're quite strict. They're very, in my opinion, they don't. It's not like a dorm at uni. You know, no guests past a certain time. They do room checks. You can't smoke. I suppose that's fair enough nowadays, isn't it? You can't smoke in there. Everyone smokes downstairs. I suppose most schools will be like that now, wouldn't they? But anyway, it is quite strict. Okay, so we've got quite a few strengths there. Weaknesses.
Lack of security.
Lack of security.
Yeah, just walking in and out.
They got all them thingy doors.
But you could just quite easily just wander around, couldn't you?
Yeah.
But then that begs the question: do you want to have badges and then have to swipe in the main door, have security? Do you want like a London college? We have to go through a metal detector and get. I'm not. He's actually a bit. That's that. It's London. They are London college, and you've got a big security guard there with those wands, and that's to get into college. I remember going to a London college just thinking, I'm scared and I'm a lecturer and I'm not, imagine going as a 16-year-old, imagine going to a college where you're going to have to, that particular physical evidence will put the pin right off. Any other weaknesses? Courtney and Sophie have been very quiet.
Cafe.
Okay, well, that's a good one, we'll come back in a sec. Any other weaknesses you do think of? Wait a second.
Not really. I thought of enough strength though.
Go on.
There's free parking there. The other, some of city centre comes to pay council.
That's city centre's bad though, isn't it? There's just a pay and a car and that's it. Yeah, I think that's awful. So parking. What were you going to say, Moses? Okay.
You have to pay for the gym as well.
it's not excessive.
You get a fairly good discount, I think, don't you? It's not, it's not too bad. If you think how much other gyms are, I know it's not
And if you
massive.
lived here as well.
Huh?
And if you lived here as well.
It'd be easy.
Gym.
Anything else?
The A levels, the weakness.
Okay.
It is though.
Why? Tell me why it's a
Because they don't have a
weakness.
range of them,
Okay.
and also they don't suit time consuming.
They don't what, sorry?
Suit the time consuming.
So the weakness is there. It's the links of communication between departments, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
And they don't have a range either though. They struggle with the range and the numbers.
So what those of you that can't read that, in what I put there is the range of A levels. Again, this is only the second year we've even offered A levels, so it's a real growth area. What I put there is the communication between departments. That is a weakness. Do you mind sharing what's happened, or do you want to or not?
Oh, I was going to do English A level and the timetable class. And we moved the day to Wednesday, so I can't remember it was.
The timetables originally allowed you to do the full-time business and the AS level,
Yeah.
but then something happened with the AS level. They changed their timetable,
Yeah.
which created a clash with this course. No, it's not fair. I know it's not fair, but it's one of those things. It's the communication between departments, definitely.
The other one is another weakness, is when they make you do an A level. They make you do an A level last year.
Really?
Yep, well, first and second year I have to do an A level.
In your second year.
First and second. Fashion, I have to do an A level. And then photography and then something.
That's very strange.
Maybe.
Yeah, I'll tell you why that is. If you're only doing the second year, everyone has to do something else. All the guys in the second year now are doing either an A level or extended projects because they're only doing 6 units over the whole year. They did 12 units in the first year, whereas you're doing 9, and then 6 in the second year. If you're only doing 6 units and a tutorial, that's not classes. You're not doing enough hours for a full-time course. So that means no benefits, no this, no that, no this, no that. So we put the extended project on the AS level so that it's classed as a full-time course.
Oh.
That's why. There is a kind of reason behind it. We're not just going to make you do things you don't want to do.
Okay.
No, that is the reason behind it. Okay. Is there anything else you want to add to these top 2, anyone? No? Okay. Opportunities and threats. Does anyone want either one?
What's the nearest college?
So was that?
Where's the nearest college from here?
Pompey College or South?
Southampton's is really close.
South Down. So other colleges, yeah, definitely. So what they do better, what different things they offer. It's very strange what makes you choose a college sometimes. Very few people choose it because it's their perfect course. There'll be something else, won't there? Might be location, might be where their friends are going, maybe. Location. See, it's strange what people choose their courses. It makes it quite hard to market because people get for those different reasons. Other opportunities or threats? So new colleges. Okay. Is there anything to do with government? There could be opportunities or threats. Government cuts?
And government money for opportunities.
Yeah, I'm going to put funding across both because it is. There's huge opportunities. You find pots of money the government allocate. You can take from them. But then if you're doing something you're used to having money for and they cut that, it's a threat. So funding goes across both, definitely.
Another weakness is how you can get here, because there's only one bus that comes here from if you're from Litcott sort of way, and it misses times and that, and so it's 25 minutes.
We had a college bus last year. Those of you who were here. But
Oh, you do.
didn't they? That's probably why they cut it because it wasn't making enough, wasn't worthwhile. So they cut that. But if no one used it, then what else do you think? Any ideas, opportunities and threats? Like
Better
said to you at the start, it's not just the course. The course is really important, but it's not just the course. It's the extra things you do, the trips, the teaching, the events. It's all those extra things you can talk about when you go to your interviews. And you will have a lot to talk about. The second you're doing their personal statement, we're listing all the things they've done. You haven't got enough space. What about technology? Where does that come into it? New technology. So, whiteboards, iPads, different software, any change in technology. Other teachers will see that as a threat. It depends on, should I say, stereotypically age, but people see technology as a big threat. When you start your business careers, you'll see the people who've been there for 20, 30 years, and they'll just won't do a crap. That technology, they won't want to get involved. It's just so foreign to them. Whereas you guys are kind of in that age, aren't you? All of you. So technology is just second nature, really. Anything else? Opportunities and threats?
Would technology be a threat as well?
How?
Because if new technology comes out, you might be able to do courses online at home, so it's going to put less people on courses in college. You can do courses from home.
Yeah, okay. Would you say that would be a threat to me then, as well as a college?
Threat to college.
But when you'd still have
You'd still be with the college, wouldn't you, if you done it from home?
But they're not all wood colleges. Sometimes like
But bear in mind, you still have, with online courses, they don't take as much time, but you've still got to develop all the resources. And bear in mind, the resources have to be very different. Because you couldn't just dump this PowerPoint up there, could I? There'd have to be a lot more, and it'd take me a lot longer to prepare the resources for, because you've missed out on this bit. It's a different way of learning.
yeah.
I don't mind online learning. I'm not such a fan. I think you get much more sat in the room. What we need to put down here is just numbers. Students. So it sounds silly. The birth rate. It's an opportunity or it's a threat. Could be either.
What are the goals? Like, according to one, the students to pass their successful.
What, so the goals for hybrid? Where would that come into this? So you're talking about student success rates.
Maybe it goes into
Opportunity.
opportunity.
Is student success something that we can control as a college, or that happens to us?
But you have to,
It's interesting. You should come to our success meetings. We have a meeting every year that we have to justify our student success. People drop out, or if people, for any reason don't succeed, I have to sit there and justify every single person, regardless of how much control I have. So don't drop out. Okay. So it's honestly, if people withdraw for whatever reason, is that something under control? Not really. But we say student success is a strength because of our high success rates. With opportunities and threats, they can be in either, depends on which way they go. So we look at it's like a social trend, isn't it? Education comes in trends. Going back to education, or it being education the right thing. The trend is now to stay in education, isn't it? If you notice that the school leaving age is increasing, more and more people going to university. So we can say this is a massive opportunity. So the increase in the school leaving age. Massive opportunity. The trend that is to stay in education. That's a massive opportunity. Increasing leaving age.
Yeah, but is that an opportunity for college? Because you're going to stay at school.
No, you stay in education.
You stay at school till you're 18 now.
No, you stay in education till you're 18.
So if you're 16,
No.
college or
A lot of schools are creating their own sixth forms,
Oh.
but not all. Next September is going to be the first year that this kind of impacts on us. So it'll be interesting to see what happens because we haven't got a clue. Just have to kind of roll with it.
Will they look treat, you know when people are late, or they drop out over there, you're definitely not allowed to drop out there, no matter what. You're not allowed to drop out of school really, are you?
No, it's going to be really awkward for that exact reason. We've got loads of meetings coming up to discuss it because
Is it compulsory then now? Kids
say in education to 18? It's absolutely compulsory.
Yeah,
You can do it
so
in
for,
practice.
First time I heard that.
yeah, so for Jack, yeah, without doubt.
I got told it was my age that's the.
Yeah, I thought it was my brother's age.
It was the year before.
Yeah,
wasn't it?
below enough to.
No, yeah, stay. Well, it's in education, in education or employment or training.
So they have to be, or they can get a job.
They can get a job. As far as I'm aware, a full-time job. If not, you've got education, you've got apprenticeships, you've got all these different options. But yeah. So we've got quite a lot of different examples there: strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. So that gives you that. So you should have quite a lot written down for the SWOT analysis. What you're going to need to do when we link this to this assignment is explain the SWOT analysis. Why is it important for a business to do it? Remember, the whole point is identifying where we are right now. How do we turn, what are our weaknesses? How do we turn them into strengths? What are opportunities and threats? What are we going to do about these things? Okay? So that's the first thing we're going to cover. Second thing is, remember all the way back here, I showed you the marketing audit. Okay? The marketing audit is what is known as a PESTLE analysis. You should have the other sheet in front of you. Now, as you can see, PESTLE stands for political, economic, social, technological, legal, and environmental. Right? So what this is an external analysis. So this is things that colleges, businesses, what have you, cannot do anything about. All they can do is respond to. So it's here, isn't it? Opportunities and threats. Anything within your PESTLE analysis will be an opportunity or a threat. So all those examples that you've got for that SWOT analysis will filter into this PESTLE analysis. So when we're thinking of business in general, political, it literally is. What impact is the political party having on business? So is it in terms of funding for colleges?
Increase in university fees.
Increase in university fees, exactly. Going back to SWOT analysis, is a massive opportunity for Highbury. Just to add to your SWOT analysis, the increase in university fees.
Is that a threat or weakness?
Massive opportunity for Highbury, in my opinion. Because what are you going to do? You're going to go to uni and spend £9 grand a year, or you're going to come here and do a foundation degree and spend 3. You know? So that's a huge opportunity for Highbury, in my opinion. But on a grander scale, think of the freedom of information in China. Think of how safe countries like Libya are at the moment. Well, that's political stability. So if you are an internet company, is China the best place to launch? It's getting better, but arguably not. What businesses will do, they'll do a detailed PESTLE analysis on a new location if they're trying to expand either locally, regionally, or normally internationally. So political is anything to do with the local government or the regional or national government. Economic is literally anything to do with the economy. In a couple of weeks' time, we are going to start looking directly at the economy and all the different key terms within. And it is a tough subject because there is a lot to it, but hopefully it will start to build your knowledge of it. So if you don't know about the economy, you can't really understand how a business sits. So in terms of the economy, it's what impact do government changes have on a business? So what kind of things can the government or the Bank of England change that a business cannot control but they have to respond to? Yeah, it's a huge one. Taxation. They can't change it, but that does affect businesses. But yeah. So if we focus on tax for a second, what different types of tax are there? Income tax. Are we filling this in as we go along, Jay? Yep. So tax, we've got income tax, corporation tax. What's corporation tax? Exactly that. Corporation tax, tax on business profits.
VAT.
And VAT. Good. They're the 3 main types. VAT standing for? Value added tax. Difference in that is the tax on spending.
What are the taxes?
Income tax, corporation tax, and VAT. So what does the government, if the government increase or decrease, that's going to affect the business. Because how much they pay was how much money we spend. What else well, particularly the Bank of England with the government change? Give me an example. One of the big things, you hear about it every 3 months, in fact, you hear about it. Well, every month, sorry, you hear about it.
The budget now with the bonuses.
You were closer before. Budgets. How much the government are spending. What were you going to say? Interest rates. Nothing has a bigger impact, in my opinion, on the economy than changes in interest rates. Annie, what are interest rates? Any ideas? I bet everyone must have heard of the term before. You couldn't get away from it. But what are they? Have a guess. No? Okay, go on, Jane.
Like a certain percentage on top of what you pay back to make them make money. So if you pay borrowed like £100 grand and you have to pay 10% interest, you pay £1,000 back.
1,100.
Yeah,
Depends on the calculation, but I know what you're saying. So is interest rates always bad then?
No,
No?
because you get interest rates in your bank.
Interest rates, reward of saving, cost of borrowing. Don't worry about all this too much. Just write down the thing. When you're doing a PESTLE analysis, you're looking at how the economy is. Is it stable? First of all, is the economy stable? Are we going through a period of boom or bust? So are we in recession or are we in a period of high growth?
Recession.
Well, we're not at the moment, but we have been for a while. So these are all the things that, as a business, you're going to be looking about the economy, the strength of the currency. So in terms of what Adam said about the exchange rates. So when you go on holiday, how many euros do you get for your pounds? How many dollars do you get for your pounds?
What's this got to do with Friday, Sunday?
We're doing a PESTLE analysis in general, isn't it?
Oh, it's staying away.
Yeah. Bear in mind we've got international students. Okay. Leave some space on this sheet as well. Leave some space for each one if you can. I know there's not much space there. If you can have to write on the back and do that. Social, different trends. So the trends we identified in terms of people staying in education. The trends in general would be fashion. Anything that's cool at the moment that's not, that was before. Changes in, for example, a trend is healthy eating. It's a huge kind of difference in how we act socially. Big trends obviously are how we interact with technology. In terms of technology, it's just changes in. You need to know what changes there are going to be in technology, and if you're going to be launching to a different country, what technology do they have available? So is it a fast internet connection? Can you get Wi-Fi? You know, if you're launching in a certain country, certain area, not everyone has Wi-Fi, do they? Legal, well, fairly self-explanatory. Changes in laws. So, in terms of school leaving ages, you'll find political and legal do overlap. So in terms of legal, school leaving ages, the qualifications imposed on members of staff, maybe. Health and safety is a huge one that we're going to focus on for tutorial this afternoon. Because the excuse that I didn't know, as you all should be aware, isn't an excuse. I didn't know. Ignorance is not an excuse for anything, isn't it? And that applies to health and safety as much as anything else, or any piece of legislation in schools, colleges, in business. Last one, environmental. Now that is, remember, it's not the business's impact on the environment, it's the environment's impact on the business. So, we'll see what happens this year, but every Christmas or January, I think, for the past how many years, we've had snow. And this college is closed. So that's something we haven't got control over, it's an external influence. So going back to your SWOT, in fact, huge threat. We lost a week, at least a week last time. So it's the impact that the environment can have on business. So, is there anything you think we can add to this? Because I've kind of gone through, given some examples from Highbury and some examples just in general. Is there anything we can add to this in terms of these subheadings that really apply to Highbury now?
What did you talk about with technology?
Technology, it's literally, it's a changes in technology. So for Highbury, you've got, you know, how we use the VLE. That's not been around forever. I know it probably has you guys that come from school, but I didn't have VLE in school. What else? You know, basically all the different changes, everything, you know, the flip cams.
Oh, but this thing update, like computers and that. There's some new software and that.
Yeah.
Like Windows 8.
Yeah. New softwares gives you new abilities. Definitely.
Social networking going on.
So, yeah, social networking is exactly huge one. Some people completely ignore it. Well, you know, we've got the Highbury Biz page. I don't use Twitter that much, but Graham, foundation degree, loves his Twitter, so he uses Twitter rather than Facebook. But it's just a different way of working, isn't it? Different way of kind of trying to grab the target market. Same with YouTube, just a different way. It's using technology. Okay. So are we happy with the PESTLE analysis? Political, economic, social, technological, legal and environmental. Remember, it's an external analysis of a business. It's looking at what possibly could happen. Where are we now? What things are influencing us as a business? So what you can see is you've got a SWOT analysis, your strengths, weaknesses, opportunities and threats. You've got a PESTLE analysis. Okay? You've also got that market research that you've had for P3. What you're going to do now, this is the final part and then you'll start working directly on the assignment, is I need you to come up with 3 smart marketing objectives for Highbury College. Alright? Now what I want you to do is do this, try and do it individually to start off with, and then we'll start to collate them together. What does SMART stand for though?
Specific, measurable, achievable, realistic.
Exactly that. So, what I want though, it needs to be something, it needs to be a marketing objective, i.e. it needs to be something that is going to benefit the college and something that has some sort of link. It could be linked to social media or it could be something completely different. But what I want you to do is think about it as a marketing objective. Okay? For example, a marketing objective may be to create two new radio adverts for Express FM before Christmas. Do January starts? Create a radio advert for the January starts for Highbury College before December. That's a marketing objective, isn't it? It's not just increase student numbers, because where will increase student, what kind of objective would that be? Going back to that very first slide. Remember, so first one, isn't it?
Oh, right, yeah.
So if I said one of the objectives would be to increase student numbers by 10%, that is a corporate objective. If we're going to increase student numbers by 10%, PESTLE analysis, SWOT analysis, how are we going to do that? This is what you're looking at. How are we going to increase those numbers? Alright? So that's what I want you to do for the next however long, and then it's a case of collecting it all together and coming and creating your marketing plan, i.e. explaining what the marketing plan is, typing out your PESTLE analysis with an explanation, top line with SWOT analysis with an explanation, and then setting your objectives, and then justifying those objectives. So it's collating everything we've got so far.